I do not care. It's just a guard.
Welcome to the Sports Podcast.
It's not the brightest. Really? I like that. Do that.
Welcome back to the Yinzers from Ohio podcast. We're talking sports, we're talking football, we're talking the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL Draft. I'm Carson, and this is my cousin.
Cool.
What a draft it was. That was crazy. Tons of trades, tons of crazy stuff going on. I remember last year's being crazy too, but this one was even crazier.
Yep. I recently heard this line, but it's worth repeating that mock drafts will get criticized for being too crazy, and that would never happen, but the actual NFL draft is always crazier than the craziest mock draft. So,
Yep.
I mean, nobody would have ever predicted Jahmyr Gibbs to go 12, and if they did, they would have been slandered. It's just so many things like that. But anything is possible. You just don't know what these teams are thinking. But we have a lot to break down today. We're going to go over the Steelers draft, what we thought pick by pick, and their draft as a whole, and then just go kind of break down each pick in the first round for each team, give it a grade similar to what we did last year.
Yep.
We'll kind of try to remember to touch on which picks Carson and I got right, or at least half right. I don't think there were very many.
I kind of forgot about that.
I had like 3, but I was close. I was on the right track. I don't know.
What are we counting? Are we counting like player to team, or are we counting?
I was counting 1 point
pick?
for exact pick
Oh, okay.
to the exact team, and then half a point if you got it to the right team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But they traded to a different spot. So I got two players right to the right team, but they traded different spots, and I got 2 picks exactly right.
Yep, I completely forgot to do anything with that, so I guess we'll find out.
Well, I guess you just
During
pull
this
up your mock
episode.
draft on the side as we go through
Yep.
it.
Yep.
All right.
All right, so why don't we start with the Steelers draft? And oh boy, what a draft from Khan. His first draft as the Pittsburgh Steelers GM, and it is something else. Best draft I've seen them have in a while.
Yep. It was, yeah, I mean, there's so much you could say, but I mean, I liked pretty much every single pick. I think they got good to great value at every pick. I think they hit positions of need. The one thing, I felt just like you, ecstatic after the draft. Like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Best draft of my lifetime for the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
And which could very well be true, but I'm a little wary because, I feel like the Ravens or like teams like that do this every year where like they take the players who align most with like the public big board, and so their draft always looks super great, and then a couple years down the road they're like, it wasn't as great as we thought. Where how Kevin Colbert, his drafts were never like universally praised by the national media as killing it, but they always turn out to be pretty solid. So it's the view of our class one day afterwards compared to 3 years afterwards is going to be very different. So, but as of now, very happy with how things went.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this draft has more potential than any of our other recent drafts to be generational.
Yeah.
Like every single draft you have, you always got guys you're like, oh, this guy could be really good. And then sometimes they pan out, sometimes they don't. Sometimes a random undrafted running back comes out to be our second best running back by far and is incredible. So, I mean, there's so much stuff that you just don't know, and that's how the draft goes. That's one of the reasons why it's so exciting to watch and see how all these guys pan out. But why don't we jump into this with the first pick that the Steelers...
I will say real quick, it was kind of funny. Each pick, as you approached it, you kind of knew exactly who they were going, or you could predict, at least I could, pretty easily predict who they were going to take. Like in round 1, I was like, okay, they're trading up. This is definitely for, I thought Gonzalez, but I was like, this could be Broderick Jones. Second pick, we're like, okay, this is definitely either Porter or Branch that they don't trade down. Third round, I was like, this has got to be Benton. I know he'd be a scheme fit, and I think they like him. Fourth one, I was like, I know they like Washington, and I don't think they ever expected him to fall this far, or late third. That was their second third. So I was like, that was their third. Ben was their second.
Yep.
But Herbig, I knew they liked Herbig, and I was like, okay, this is probably gonna be Herbig.
And then
So,
seventh round, I didn't know
yeah,
anything. I
yeah.
didn't know
But
jack about
I
that.
figured they'd take a linebacker, but we'll touch on Trice in a little bit. But uh, yeah, we can talk about Broderick Jones here, first round.
Yeah, so Steelers trade up from 17 to 14, and they only give up a fourth. And I kind of want to spend a moment to emphasize that uh, they jump up to 14, only giving up a fourth, moving up 3 spots from 17 to 14. And if you look later in the draft, let me find this real quick. Buffalo jumped up from 27 to 25. This is only 2 spots, and it's the 25th and 27th pick, so that's not as valuable of a pick jump from 17 to 14. And they also gave up a fourth to do that. So that fourth is like
We gave
not
up pick
much at all.
120.
I didn't get the exact number on it. I know the Buffalo gave up pick 130, I believe.
So I know we gave up pick one. I think pretty sure it was 120 was the pick we gave up. But if I just pull in this draft value chart. This is totally on the fly. Just thinking about this. The Steelers picks that they gave up, which would have been 17 and 120, were worth 1,004 points on this scale. The 14th pick was worth 1,100. So, was indeed a steal. Um, tough to say, but tough to say exactly, how much is 94 points worth? Well, if we go look at the picks here, 94 points would equate to about pick 101. So, they cheated the pass out of like a third round pick. Like it would have been fair to give up it would have been fair to give up pick 100 and pick 120 for 14. So it worked out. Pats probably just wanted to trade down no matter what, and we're like, okay, we're gonna take the best offer. But yeah, we hardly give up anything to go up and get him. Gut feeling initially was like, I really wish this was Gonzalez. But as time went on, I think Khan did a great job understanding the depth of those two positions. There was just a run on tackles. They probably really like Broderick Jones, probably more than we do, or at least I do. But there was a run on tackles. He understood that if he took a corner now and a tackle later, it wasn't really going to work out. There's really no tackles at 32. Really, DeJuan Jones is who we would have viewed as the next best tackle, and he didn't go until like the 5th round. So, great job there, giving up a measly 4th round pick, getting a high end tackle, and also recognizing that he'd still be able to get one of those top tier corners at 32, or at least taking the gamble that he'd be able to.
Yeah. Yeah, when I first came in, I'm like, oh, this is for Gonzalez. We're about to get Cole's #1 corner in the draft, and he's going to go nuts. And then it came out Broderick Jones, and at first I was like, but what about Gonzalez? And then the more I thought about it, the more I understand, yeah, all the good tackles are starting to go. It wasn't really a fall for Broderick Jones at all, I don't think. I wouldn't call that a fall. That's about where I expected
It was right
him to
about
go.
there, which they jumped the Jets, because I'm pretty sure the Jets would have taken him.
Right, the Jets would have taken him
why.
100%. And that's really smart on the Patriots, which is another reason why I think they might have accepted a deal that low, is because they screwed over their divisional rival in the Jets, because the Jets wanted him, and then the Jets panicked and who did they take, McDonald?
Yeah. So what did you grade? Did you put a grade on all of our picks?
Yep. Yeah, I put a grade
So what
on
do you
it all.
grade that pick?
So yeah, Broderick Jones I graded as an A minus. It was very understandable. It probably could have been higher if there was a bit more of a fall for him, or if we didn't trade up to go get him. But I think we got him exactly where he was supposed to go, pretty much, and we had to trade up to do it. But it made perfect sense to do it. He's a great player, fills one of our biggest needs. I mean, there's plenty of upside from this guy too. He has the potential to be like all pro left tackle for us. So I'm very, very happy with this selection.
I also gave it an A minus. He is fairly raw. He's not very refined technically, but he's got all the traits. He's got the size.
Yep.
They can afford to wait a little bit and see if he pans out and reaches
Hmm.
that potential. If he has to
The
sit for
Steelers are
half a
good
year
with O
behind
line
Dan Moore, it's
process.
not the worst thing. They've got the depth in their line to cover for that. But
Yep.
I hope he wins out and starts kind of work out that stuff through training camp and stuff in preseason. But totally fine with this pick. Giving it an A minus. Very good, not quite an elite or great pick, but like it nonetheless.
Yeah, I'd call it great. I'd call it a great pick, but not elite. All
Uh,
right, first
okay.
pick of the second round, Joey Porter Jr.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to say about this. I gave it an A plus. Um, this is somebody we were all, or most Steelers fans were totally content with taking at 17. We would have walked out of there and felt totally fine.
Hmm.
I think for many people they were just praying that Washington didn't take him at 16. Um, so scheme fit, family ties, they're really familiar with him. Great player, exceptional value. Um, if there's an A plus, this has got to be it. So
Yeah, I gave it a S.
okay,
Absolute steal. Great. Like
weird.
this is one of my favorite picks in the draft. I know you don't think S's exist,
Okay,
but
so
I gave it an S.
we really should have consulted on what scale you're using, but do you have A pluses in yours or what?
Yeah, yeah.
So you have A plus
But this
and
is this is
S, which
like
is one
beyond.
above.
This is beyond like an
Okay.
A
Oh my
plus. Like this
gosh.
is
I'm just gonna consider all your S's A pluses.
all right. Fine with that. But yeah, I mean, this is a steal. I would have been very happy with him at 17, and we get him at 32. I don't know why no one else liked him. I mean, he's a perfect scheme fit for us too. His father won a Super Bowl with. There's so many ties to him. I'm extraordinarily happy to take him and get him in the second round. I mean, jeez, should have just done that pick night one of the draft. Shouldn't have waited till the next round. We all knew who it was gonna be.
Yeah. So Keanu Benton was picked at pick 49. Um, okay, I'll just say my grade. I gave it an A.
I gave it an
This
A
is
too.
this is good value. I think this is somebody the Steelers were probably considering at 32, or at least a trade back from 32 into the mid to high 30s. I probably did not expect him to be there at 49. Um, Scheme fit. I'm really hoping this guy can be the next Hargrave or Tuitt for the Steelers, or maybe even Cam Hayward if they're lucky. Um, but this is just he's got the size. He can stop the run. He can rush
Yep.
the passer from the interior.
Yep.
He's just got pretty high potential as well, and another good value pick. I mean, you probably didn't expect him to be there at this point, but the other reason that's was such a great pick is because after you took tackle and corner, your biggest need by far was defensive line, and it all just aligned perfectly for another great
Hmm.
pick.
Yep. I couldn't be happier with this. We needed a three tech, and he fills that role perfectly. Great scheme fit. Um, I maybe something I was looking at pre-draft was Brees at 32 if he fell because I really like Brees, but um, he went in the first round, and we get this guy mid second. So I'm totally happy with Ben. Gave him an A just like you did.
Darnell Washington, we traded back at pick 80 to 93. I forget
Yeah.
who all was on the board, but at this point, um, tight end was a little bit of a luxury, but you could definitely talk yourself into taking one. Gentry is probably more suited as a tight end 3 rather than a tight end 2. So this
Hmm.
works out very well. And at this point in the draft, at pick 93, this is somewhere where Washington's potential far outweighs anything else. I gave this an A plus. Yeah, there was some questions about his knees or medicals or whatever, and that's why he fell. But at this point in the draft, I don't think it really matters for someone who's that size and can move like that, who's literally a unicorn. And if he corrects some stuff and everything clicks, could be like a generational tight end. Probably not going to be that, but he has that kind of size where like
Right.
it's really you don't come across that
Yeah.
often. I
Yeah.
don't think he's
Washington.
quite. he quite moves as good as his numbers suggest. He is kind of clanky, kind of gets out of breaks slow, but he's a
Yeah.
huge red zone target. I think once
Great in a
he's with the
straight line.
Steelers, he's decent at blocking.
He's more
Not,
than decent at blocking.
I
He's
don't think,
half a offensive
but I
lineman
don't think he's not
as
an
a
elite
blocker.
blocker. He's not quite as exceptional at blocking as you'd expect someone with that size. But I think he could get there for sure with some good coaching, and I expect it to be that way. But I think he'll be an awesome complement to Freiermuth and great insurance too if he gets hurt. But now, I mean, you got two massive tight ends on
Yeah,
your roster.
Washington's 6'7", 270. So
Yeah,
he's a
just huge.
huge guy, and from at least from what I've seen, his blocking is like his best trait by far. He's a blocking tight end,
I don't think.
in my
I
opinion.
think you see the highlight plays where he's just like leveling guys, but I've seen some stuff. He's not quite good, like to that point technically. Like,
Okay.
yeah, he's a decent blocker because he's huge, but he could definitely work on some technique and become truly an elite blocker. But I
All right,
don't
then
think
at the
that's.
very least, he has
Yeah,
really good potential on that
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like
I
that
don't
that,
think
that
it's
is his
anything
strong suit.
to
I
worry
mean,
about.
he's not exactly like a great route runner. He's not like a Kelsey or anything like that who's making linebackers trip over their own feet in routes or whatever. But like Cole said, he's a little slow out of breaks. But if you can put him in a straight line or something like that, he'll
Yeah,
run
he's got
by
a
guys.
couple highlight reel plays. I think he is in the NFL more so just kind of like a good role player than he is than he that's more likely to be that than he is like a superstar tight end. But as your number two tight end with someone who has that kind of
Yeah.
freakish potential, definitely worth it. I think he's gonna be essentially be Gentry's size, but then a heck of a lot more athletic, and he's gonna offer a lot more after the catch. Like if you watch his highlights, a lot of them are just running through tackles. Um, I think defensive backs and smaller linebackers are definitely gonna have a tough time bringing him down. So at the very least, just another matchup nightmare for defenses. I mean,
Yeah.
the offense is getting incredibly scary if Pickett takes that next step, and if the
Yeah, a whole
coordinator
bunch of
has any
weapons.
kind of mental development. But I mean, they could
Yeah.
really be really good.
Yeah, he fell for some knee issues, I think is what it came out to be.
Yeah.
That was guessed to be the primary reason as to why he fell. But before we really knew about the knee issues, I've seen mocks where he snuck into
Yeah.
the first
Oh
round.
yeah. Good point. That's
So,
another thing I was gonna say. Broderick Jones, certified first round player, top 15 in almost every mock. Porter, usually around that same range and around that 15 to 25 range.
mhm.
Always a first round player. Benton, you maybe saw a couple with him late first round, but he's probably an early second to mid second round player. Um, Washington, another guy who was considered late first, early second round player. So you got four players who, at the very worst, were early second round prospects, spanning to pick 93. Just incredible value. You
Yep.
filled positional needs, um, and tons of upside and tons of potential. So gave that an A
Yeah.
plus. So far, we're averaging out to for me at least an A. Um,
Yeah. And I saw actually in some experts' opinions that Joey Porter is actually a top 10
yeah.
um, player in the draft. I think that was a little high for him. I think there were other guys, but like great. We're getting insane value at every single pick.
Yeah. And when you
Oh,
can
I don't think
match,
I said my grade on Washington, but I gave him an S as well.
okay, so an A plus.
Yeah. In your ranking system,
In the world's ranking system,
okay.
he's an A plus. All right, Nick Herbig.
Yep.
I don't
I
know a ton about him. I knew the Steelers had an eye on him, and I knew, listening to some Steelers radio guys, that this was somebody that would be a scheme fit and somebody that the Steelers would like. One, because of scheme fit. Two, because they just signed his brother, Nate Herbig, the lineman, and the Steelers, for
mhm.
whatever reason, love bringing brothers together. This is like the sixth brother duo over the last like few years that they've had in the team. Um, but it all works out too because he's another. After that point, the next box we needed to check was third edge rusher slash maybe someone that can play off ball, and he's kind of the guy that can do both for you. Um, I know Alex Kozora thinks he's thought for sure he was going to be an inside linebacker. He thought his size was a little bit of a problem, but everybody else I've seen says he's going to be a really solid third edge player. Either way,
Yep.
I'm totally fine with. He's a guy that's, from all accounts, super high motor. Probably is going to be excellent on special teams. He's going to come in and bring energy, be insurance if Highsmith or Watt goes down. They needed this pick, and for what was this, the fourth round? This is once again great value. So I gave this an A.
This is basically a fifth round pick. It's one of the last picks in the fourth round. It's pick four, round four, pick 30. So this was almost a fifth rounder.
Yeah,
Absolute great value here. He's actually really similar to Highsmith too in the way he plays. He's a super super quick guy that uses his
yeah.
speed to
Highsmith was a
set
little
up
bit small
counters on the
too
inside.
when he came out.
He'll be a perfect third outside linebacker for us, and he's also from Wisconsin, so T.J. Watt, white
Exactly. I think
linebacker.
just another one of these things we think about with especially with Benton and Herbig, guys that are a little bit, you hope have some good development, is it's great to be able to have Cam Hayward and T.J. Watt at those positions for them to learn from. I think you know
Right.
that's not something you
If you're
should
gonna learn
overlook.
from someone,
Yeah,
if you're gonna learn from someone, you want them to be the best,
yeah,
and
and we've
we
got
have
two of
some
the
of the
best.
best.
Yep. So, I gave it an A. Would you give it?
I gave it an A plus. I think he fell a lot too in this draft, and he was kind of a guy that had to go to a system that could use him properly, and the Steelers were 100% one of the teams that could use him properly. So, but yeah, he fell a bit. Got him basically for a fifth rounder. Great pick.
I think it's Cody or Corey Trice. I forget.
I think it's Corey.
I thought it was Cody. Let me see. It might be Corey.
I'm pretty sure it's. Yeah, I mean I could be wrong.
It's Corey. All right,
Let's
Corey Trice,
go!
their first seventh round pick. Um, I give this pick an A plus. I know
Jeez, so did I.
On ESPN's big board, he was like their 100th ranked player, someone they thought was like a third round prospect.
Yep,
He's
Marcus
got
considered him to be a third rounder as well.
elite size. He's like 6'2", 210 or something like that, like elite size for an NFL corner. He's big. He's pretty fast. I know his testing numbers were very similar to Joey Porter's. Both run around like a 4.45, right, right in that range. Um, had horrible, horrible medicals. He had like three major injuries to his leg or something like that. It was like ankle, ACL. I don't know. Bad stuff. But at seventh round, that does not matter. This is someone that if you get by the medicals, if he stays healthy, this could be such a steal. And the seventh round is
Yep,
the exact time you want to take a chance on
yep,
somebody who has very bad
exactly. I mean,
medicals and who his ceiling is a lot higher than where they got him.
yeah,
Um,
this guy has starter upside. He could very easily become a starter in the league if the medicals don't hold him back. And he's great with zone coverage too, which isn't necessarily the Steelers' biggest thing. Zone, he doesn't really match our scheme as well. But I mean, it doesn't hurt to have an athlete who's smart and can play really good zone coverage. So I mean, if we can get past the medicals here, this guy could definitely end
yeah.
up being
I
a
don't
starter.
know if he can play in this slot. From what I've heard, I don't think he can. So they still have a little bit of a question about who's going to play slot this year. But like I said, seventh round pick. If he doesn't work out, if his injuries are so bad that he never plays in the league, who cares? It was a seventh round pick. The point
Exactly.
is, seventh round pick. You take a chance on a guy, and
Yep.
this guy's got very very good upside, and he fell because of injuries. So great value.
Yeah.
Gave it an A plus.
Yep. I gave him an A plus as well.
Last dude, I don't even know his name. I didn't even grade him. I just wrote down Rando question mark. I really don't care. Guard
I'm gonna
Maryland.
be honest with you. I've done a little research in this guy. I actually really like him too. I gave him an A minus.
Oh gosh.
So I forget his
Carson the
first name,
homer.
but
I'm giving it an
uh,
F. I'm not
so-
a homer. See, all my other picks I can give A pluses, but single as to give this is an F. I'm being fair.
oh boy. Yeah. Let me go get his first name real quick.
No.
But uh, yeah. Hold on one second. I saw something on Twitter that that made me absolutely fall in love with this guy. Spencer Anderson, guard out of Maryland. Um, Yeah, so he scored a. Let's go back to Twitter here so I can pull this up. All right, yeah, he scored a 9.35 on the RAS score, relative athletic score, out of 10. So he's like to begin with a really, really good athlete, and it's just a question of whether we can get him to live up to his athletic potential. But on that RAS score, he had one horrible grade in his shuttle. He slipped during his shuttle. So his actual shuttle is probably pretty, at least decent. So he's probably even better than that 9.35 RAS that he was graded with. So
So
I
what
mean,
do you know what the problem is on him? Is he too small or short arms or what?
nope, that's the only thing I know about him. Great
So
pick.
you just know that he's fairly athletic for an offensive
Yeah,
line.
he's a really athletic
And
guy.
I applaud you for your research. This dude will
Yeah,
probably never make the team, but we'll see.
my research of scrolling through Twitter and this randomly popping up in front of me. But yeah, I mean, he's an athlete. I'm fine with this. I don't really know much about him outside of that. My A minus might be a little bit uninformed, but I just like the idea of this guy slipped during a drill and still came out as a super athletic guy.
Yep. So as a whole, if you average out my picks, or you want to keep the Steelers a grade out of 100, I decided it would be a high A, somewhere around a 96 or a 97. I think they hit pretty much. I'm a little disappointed they didn't grab a linebacker. I really thought they'd take like Ivan
Yeah,
Pace in the seventh round. They didn't even sign him as an undrafted free agent, so they must not. Um, Ivan Pace, I thought was like a fourth round, third round, fourth round prospect. He did even undrafted. I don't know why. I know he's a little small, Cincinnati linebacker, but a little disappointed they didn't go linebacker. I'm really hoping they go out and grab Miles Jack and just be done. I would be
hmm
ecstatic if you go into the season with like Miles Jack, and then this roster you have now. I think they'd be set. I don't think they'd really have any weaknesses at all. Maybe safety a little bit, but
yeah. I
um,
liked Kazee when he played too, so I don't even think that would be that bad.
yeah, but he's more of like a free. He's more of like a deep. Um,
Yeah.
he's not quite big enough to play in the box, and Keanu Neal is more of like a situational linebacker. I don't think he's quite can do what Edmonds can do in terms of playing deep downfield as well. So, between those two, they might be able to cover it. We'll see. Steelers might think they're set.
Yeah, that's why I wanted Branch. He would have been perfect in that
Yeah.
role and the slot corner, which is our other not exactly sure who we're gonna put there kind of thing. But we got all the camp and we have undrafted free agents. You never know when one of them might show out, or there's still free agents out there, like you were saying with Miles Jack. If they sign Miles Jack, our linebacker room goes from a pretty big question mark right now to I'm okay with it. So I'm pretty sure they've got a plan with that.
Yeah. Don't listen to the haters out there that rate this Steelers draft lowly. I think you have very good reason to be excited. Hit on positions in need, great value. Um, I think this is the best the Steelers roster has been going into a season for quite a few years. Really, just a couple question marks, but if everything clicks, they could be very good this year. So, what do you give the draft as a whole? I'm guessing yours is like a 98 or a 99 or something. Or
Yeah, I think mine. If you give a score like that too, I think it averages
well,
out
if you
to like a
factor in your
97 or
S's,
98.
which are worth like
My S's are
110,
like, yeah.
then you
Right.
average like 105 out of
Actually,
100.
I'm giving Joey Porter a Z triple alpha, which is the yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
That's great draft. Couldn't be happier.
yeah, we had pretty similar opinions on pretty much everything. Hopefully, this next thing will be a little more exciting going through all of the first round picks. Hopefully, we have some contradicting thoughts.
I think we will.
But we'll go into that next.
All right. One more thing about Anderson, real quick. He's 6'5", 320, so he's got really good size, and he has experience at right tackle, guard, and he played center in the Shrine Bowl. So he's kind of like a swing guy that you can just put anywhere.
Okay.
So I mean, he might end up with a roster spot because I know the Steelers really like their swing offensive linemen that can go anywhere.
I
But
think
he is a
he's
seventh
lucky going up
rounder,
on the
so.
practice squad. That's probably my prediction because they've got people that can play that swing role already. They just got so many linemen
Yeah.
right now. But
Yeah. All right, let's get into the rest of the first round picks here. So first overall, Carolina Panthers selected Bryce Young. Thoughts on that?
I gave it an A. Went up and got your guy. I think it would have really been a mistake to draft anybody else here.
Yep.
He's the most polished guy. He'd be considered an elite quarterback prospect if he was like 6'1" or 6'2", but instead he's like 5'9". So
that's his literal only question.
Yeah,
about
that really is his
size.
only red flag, which I'm not too worried about. It could be an issue, but I think tape there,
Yeah.
he's gonna be a great quarterback.
Yeah, I gave it a B plus just because it was a little expensive to go up and get him.
Wow. Wow.
You gave the Bears your ninth overall pick, a future first and 2 seconds, and DJ Moore. So that you gave up a lot to go get him.
I did not really think totally about that trade since it happened so long ago, but
yeah. So that's why I gave it a B plus.
They needed to get their guy. They haven't had their guy since Campbell.
I like it. If they drafted anyone else, I would have been much harsher about it. But they drafted Stroud, I probably would have given it like, I don't know, C minus, D plus, or something like that, because he gave up so much. But you went out, you got the right guy, you got your guy. It's expensive, but sometimes that's what you got to do. So can't be too upset with it.
All right, pick 2.
C.J. Stroud. I gave it a C minus.
I think you're going to be a lot harsher on these picks than me.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep the B's and A's and all that to a minimum, but I still gave out plenty.
I just know you're going to have like a few F's on players, and I'm going to have like B grades on them. I'm like, okay, this isn't even that bad. This is horrible. They should have taken this dude. This is an F. This is a colossal failure.
Yeah, I've got one of those. I think you're going to be very upset about, but we'll get there when we get there. We'll get there when we get there.
All right.
Let's pay attention.
Talk about Stroud.
Yeah, so I kind of like Stroud as a prospect. It's nothing actually against him. It's more the Texans situation. They're not a good team. This is not the time to go and get a quarterback. I know that they wanted a Stroud, but you got guys like Will Anderson sitting there, which we'll talk about that the third pick. But right now you need to build up your offensive line, your defensive line, the rest of your defense, your weapons. I mean, you got a whole bunch of other problems with your roster. Getting a quarterback in now to potentially ruin him, like the Cleveland Browns did for 15 years, is not exactly what you want to do. That's why I grade it so low. I actually don't mind Stroud himself. I think I don't know. I'm fine with him going like number 2 or 3 overall, but I just think the Texans are making a mistake by picking a quarterback this high.
I gave it a B. Similar thinking to you, I just wasn't quite as harsh on it. I really spent a little bit of time thinking through the Texans earlier today, and I agree with you. We'll get into the next pick, which will kind of sum up, the Texans' future as a whole. But, for this pick, I think you either should have gone Anderson and stayed there, or you should have gone Stroud and stayed at 12. But in my mock draft before, I had them take Anderson and trade up for Levis or Richardson. I think it was Richardson. But Richardson goes at 4. That wouldn't have been a possibility. I go to B. I mean, he's kind of high floor, lower ceiling, kind of in the way that Pickett was, kind of like one of those accurate guys, not the super strong arm, decent processor. So I think Stroud will be good. I think he'll be solid, but I agree with you. I'll talk about Will Anderson real quick so I can talk about my Texans' thoughts as a whole. I thought that was a disaster. The more I think about it, the lower I think the grade is. I gave it a C plus. The only thing saving it is that Anderson's a great player, and so they end up getting. They only end up getting Stroud, which was the best quarterback available, and Anderson, probably the best defense player available outside of Carter. So you do get 2 great players on the same timeline on each side of the ball, building for the future. That's good. That aside, it's a good draft. You got 2 good players, but oh my goodness, giving up that first-round pick next year to Arizona was a complete disaster. You are not going to be good this year. Their offense is an absolute nightmare. Really, their team as a whole is not very good, but their offense, do they have any receivers? Is their offensive line any good at all outside of like Tunsil? I mean, Stroud. That's another thing. Stroud could really struggle mightily this year. It could actually hurt his development.
Yeah, he was
If
in
you
an
throw him in
amazing
there,
position
yep.
at Ohio
That's what I was
State.
gonna say. Ohio State. He's got three incredible receivers. He's got an elite O line. You throw him to the Texans, where he's pretty much got the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
It could be a nightmare. I think the Texans will be a bottom five team for sure. That pick next year could be like I know. I think it's PFF is already releasing like their mocks for next year, and they think the Cardinals and the Texans are going to be the two worst teams, meaning that the Cardinals will have the first overall and the second overall pick next year, if that holds true.
That would be
Um,
insane.
so this was just really a nightmare when you think about it. Far better. If you want to go Stroud, I'm totally fine with that. Would have been far better to just stay at 12. You could have had someone like Christian Gonzalez to plug into your defense. Me personally, if I could go back in hindsight and build this for the Texans, I'm saving that pick next year. I know I'm going to be terrible. Next year's a very top, great quarterback class. Um, you got Caleb Williams and a couple others. Even if you don't get Williams, you get a chance at another great quarterback prospect.
Yep. And
I'm taking Will Anderson at 2, and I'm going down to 12, and I'm taking someone like Gonzalez. I'm taking maybe an elite tackle like Broderick Jones. I'm maybe taking Jackson Smith-Njigba, but probably I would lean towards like even like a Banks I wouldn't hate, or like a Nolan Smith, even guys that went later in the draft, or like a Brian Branch I wouldn't have criticized too heavily at 12. I would have gotten two key defensive pieces, and then really go all in on offense next year, knowing that you're going to just be terrible this year. That would be the smarter thing. But on the other hand, it's tough to convince a head coach of that, someone that's trying to keep his job, not to draft a quarterback this year so it can be bad. Like from a realistic standpoint, that's not probably going to happen. So it is frustrating. They got two good players, but yeah, man, I just really don't like that trade out for Will Anderson. Great player, but I think you're just far better off. That pick next year is going to be worth so much, whether you want a quarterback or not.
I absolutely love the idea of going back in and getting both the two guys that you wanted. I think that's great. But the payment for what that was, the cost of that was just not worth it. They sent them the 12th overall pick, the 33rd, which is almost a first rounder, their first next year, and another second.
I mean, if you really wanted to trade up, I mean, I would have gone to like 8 or 9 and tried to grab like Tyree Wilson or Carter. I mean,
Carter, yeah.
Man, yeah. They probably love Anderson, just, great character and culture guy, but
I gave it a C minus. The only thing that's keeping that from a D is just how good of a player Anderson is.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna keep repeating ourselves, but yeah.
All right, number 4. Anthony Richardson to the Colts.
I gave this an A minus. They needed a quarterback for sure. It'd be a disaster if they walked away by the quarterback. So either Richardson or Levis. Obviously, in hindsight, there was a huge gap in where those players were taken. All the rumors were that they loved Levis, but I think Richardson's probably the better pick here. Super high upside guy. Little worrisome they don't have like a good veteran to sit, because I think he's a guy that you'd probably want to have sit for a year. But if he does play, I mean, he's one of the most athletic quarterback prospects we've ever seen. So maybe his floor is someone like a rookie Fields, or Fields last year, where just like he's gonna run for a ton of yards. Maybe not the best passer, but hope you can develop that. But you needed him. It's worth it to take that swing.
And the guy who
that big swing.
developed Justin Hurts is now in Indianapolis, so he might be able to bring Richardson up to.
I mean, Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts, sorry. Might be able to bring up Richardson to his potential here.
Yeah. So A minus, just because he's not quite a a refined prospect yet. But
hindsight's 2020. Maybe you take someone else here, then get Will Levis in the second or something, right? But that's there's no way they could have seen that happening, that huge fall. So I'm perfectly happy with them getting who, in my opinion, was the better prospect out of the two. And I gave it a B+. I think all of my picks might be a little lower than yours, Cole. I think you might average out to like a B or something, but
yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, so I gave it a B+. I like it. I think it's a good spot for Richardson. You got a good team in front of him. Kind of scared to see him start right away, but like Cole said, it's not the worst.
Yeah. Um, 5 Witherspoon to Seattle. Um, I give that A-minus again. Another good player. I probably would have preferred Carter or maybe even Tyree Wilson here. But I'm sure Witherspoon will be good. They needed some cornerback help. They have a lot of holes in their defense, but they needed cornerback help outside of Tariq Woolen.
Mhm.
Um, so another good pick. I really think after hearing the pre-draft storylines about how they told Smith we really could draft a quarterback here. I think what happened is they really liked Anthony Richardson. If he was there, they were going to take him. I think they didn't quite like Levis as much. So I'm not saying I don't love how they're kind of locked into Geno Smith and they're building around him, which is especially what the plan looks like it's going to be. I don't love that because I don't think you really can do enough to win a Super Bowl
I
with
don't know.
Geno
I don't
Smith, no
think
matter
they're
how
that
much.
locked in with him. I mean, they gave him a contract, and I mean this year it didn't really fall out great for them when it came to quarterbacks. Like you said, maybe if Richardson was there, they would have taken him, and they just didn't like Will Levis as much,
I
which
mean,
I'm
they
fine
could get
with.
out of his contract, but what I'm saying is they did not add a quarterback this year, which was what I probably would have preferred. Um, so they're at least locked in for another probably 2 years with Geno Smith is what I mean. So I don't love that, but they really couldn't help it. I'm not saying they should have forced it and taken Levis here. So that's what A
Okay.
minus.
Yep, I gave it a B plus. I like it. Take my cornerback one off the board. Maybe Carter here. I know they get mocked Carter a lot at 5. Maybe they didn't like some of the off-field stuff and decided to go with potentially the Legion of Boom 2. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I like the pick. Good pick.
Pick 6, Arizona traded down and then back up to select Paris Johnson. I'm giving this an A. Um, Really more so because of the fact that they picked up that first next year that we talked about. That's going to
Hmm.
be a top 5 pick. This is someone that they probably needed to do just for Kyler's sake to keep him happy. I know Kyler apparently has been pissed. They've been just drafting mid linebackers for the last 4 years that haven't worked out. So this is someone they're probably going to take at 3. They picked up an extremely good first round pick in the process. Um,
Yeah.
and they got their guy that they're going to take. Wilson himself is not, or Johnson himself is not an elite prospect. He's not somebody that can come right away and dominate. He's got some red flags. He's not quite refined technically. He's got some things he needs to work on, but overall, it's a great trade to move down, pick up that high first next year, and still get
Yep.
a good tackle prospect.
They essentially moved down 3 spots from 3 to 6. They moved back 1 spot in the second from the 33rd to the 34th, and then gained that future first and second. That's about how everything panned out. So I mean that's great value there. That's you can't fault that. And then they get who was my number one tackle in the draft in Paris Johnson Jr. to help out Kyler. So I think that was a great pick. I gave it an A minus.
Okay. 7 Tyree Wilson to the Raiders. I gave that an A minus. Like I said, I don't know much more on Tyree Wilson than I did a few days ago, but I think this is A minus more than anything, just because the fact that the Raiders didn't reach and take some horrible third round prospect with their first pick. They finally just took a. It was finally a sane decision. Good prospect. They're going to be able to pair him with Max Crosby.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not sure. I probably, personally would have probably preferred Carter or maybe even Gonzalez, but this is a good pick.
Yep, I'm happy with it too. I gave it a B. It's a good pick. I'm really happy that Tyree isn't going to have to be the number one edge rusher to begin his career. Excuse me. And he's got Max Crosby there, so I'm not worried at all about that. And I think he'll actually have a really good chance to grow on that Raiders D line. So I'm happy with that pick.
8. We might have some conflicting opinions on this, but this
Yeah.
is one that I predicted. This is one that I nailed. I got Bijan to the Falcons at 8, which I'm pretty proud
Hmm.
of, even though I just copied Theo. Um, I gave this a B plus. It's probably significantly higher than what I'm guessing you gave it.
Yeah. This is
But
the pick I was referencing.
I do not hate this at all. I mean, I think he's a generational running back, and he's going to a team that loves running the ball more than anyone else in the league. Everyone knows this is their identity. They run the ball like 60% of the time. I'm pretty sure they led the league in yards per game. It's just another dynamic weapon. He's a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's just an elite running back prospect for a team that loves to run the ball, and for that reason, I think it's a B plus. Maybe a little high for a running back, especially when they probably have some holes in their defense. But I think, you're probably not very good for another year. You give another weapon for Ritter. We'll give Ritter a year to see if this works out. Doesn't work out, great. You draft your guy next year. You'll probably be in a position to do that. But he's got Pitts now. He's got London. He's got Robinson. He's got tons of weapons. They should have an elite run game. I don't hate this pick. I think it's a great fit, and he's probably going to absolutely tear it up in fantasy this year.
All right. I gave it a D minus. I hate this pick.
You're an idiot.
I know you like it. I understand why they did it for those exact reasons that you said. They had a really good run game last year, so they're going to go out and get the best runner in the draft, who is an incredible prospect.
Yeah, think about this question. They had a great run game. They were one of the best running teams in the league. Arthur Smith is a genius drawing up, one of the best schemers in the league for run game. And their lead runner was, I don't even remember his name. What is that dude's name? Who's their running back? Who was it?
Tyler
Algier. There was one of the best running teams in the league with Tyler Algier. Now they added a generational running back prospect. They're going to run for 250 yards a game this year.
So yeah, last year the Falcons were number 1 in rushing yards, number 1 in yards per carry, number 1 in rushing first downs, number 2 in EPA per rush, number 3 in success rate, and number 3 in first downs or touchdowns per rush.
I know what argument you're going to make.
They had an incredible run game, and Algier broke Atlanta's rookie rushing record, and they had 3 running backs ranked top 20 in efficiency out of the 69 qualifying running backs. They already have, arguably, if not just flat out, is the best rushing attack in the league. They don't need him. They don't have a good enough team to say, let's make our best aspect even better. They have other holes on this roster that they should go out and fill. Like a Jalen Carter, put him on there. Let him do something. They don't need Robinson. He's a great player. Their running game is going to be absolutely absurd. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be like every single game, like you said, they could go off for like 200 rushing yards per game. It's going to be crazy. But why not, instead of 200 rush yards per game, take 150 rush yards per game and take 50 to 60 yards off of the other team's rush yards per game with a Jalen Carter or something like that. There's so many other spots on this roster they could have gone that would have improved their team way better than taking their best aspect and improving it slightly, because you can only improve it so much. I mean, don't get me wrong, Robinson's crazy. He makes people miss at a completely different level. But in Atlanta, it's just unnecessary. As much as doing what Robinson does is unnecessary.
I totally see your point, and I'm not even going to fight you on it that much, even though they're totally different perspectives and totally different opinions. I 100% understand what you're saying. Really, I could be talked into either one of those. I just think the whole aspect of getting as much help around Ritter as you can is going to be beneficial. He's going to have he's really not going to have many excuses. If he flops, he flops, and for sure.
Yeah.
But it is a good point, though. If they have the number 1 rushing attack in the league, then okay, good. Now go address other needs. I understand what you're saying, but I just think it's such a great scheme fit. I'm not going to hate on it too much. But yeah, they definitely could have attacked defense.
I understand the thought process, and if they were a better team, if they were already like a top 12 team in the league, then I can understand it. Just make that one thing lethal and go, because the rest of your team can, hold on to the rest of the game or whatever. But that's just not where they're at right now. Or if they had a really good quarterback, like you're saying, right now that person's Ritter, and I don't think Ritter's good. I don't think he's going to be good. So
Yeah,
if,
I don't either.
if they had like a first round quarterback, like maybe a late first rounder that they had in there instead, and that had some like potential, like yeah, then I could understand that even more. But I think this is just such. I think they're going backwards with this. I understand the thought process, and I like the thought process. They're just not in a position where that's actually going to help them, in my opinion.
Okay, that was already very long for one pick, but agree to disagree. So we'll move on.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I'm just saying, real quick. I mean, that has a chance to be something truly special. I mean, I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
fantasy purposes. That
Yeah.
could be he could be the number one player in fantasy this year. Like that's how
Yeah.
crazy it could be.
Yeah.
He's probably gonna get 20 to 25 touches a game and average like 5 to 6 yards a carry. It's probably gonna be nuts.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, their running game was already number one. It's going to be number zero if that was possible. I mean, it's going to be disgusting.
Very good logic. They will have the number 0 rushing attack next year.
You get my you get my point. All right, let's move on to Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter to
Yeah.
the Eagles
Real quick,
at
I'm
number
really
9.
not even gonna offer much explanation. That's an A plus. Best player in the draft. Fits the
Yep,
Eagles.
exact same.
Exactly what they
A
want to.
plus.
Yeah, A plus. All right. 10.
The only
Darnell
reason
Wright.
why it wasn't an S for me is because they had to trade up from 10 to 9, and they gave up a fourth to do it.
Oh no,
That's the only
no
reason why it's not an S
S.
for me.
10. Darnell Wright. This is a guy, another pick that I nailed. Although I had the Bears taking him at 9. Whatever, they took him at 10. I think that should still be a full point. But I gave it a B. You're probably gonna be. I just know you're gonna be super low on this. But the only reason it's a B. Wright's. This is probably a little bit of a reach on Wright, but I feel a little better about that because they traded down twice. They traded down from 1 to 10. They got a guy they really liked who's going to plug right in to right tackle, which is a huge need for them, and be a great fit and start right away. I think that right there means it's a B. You know, you could be lower. I understand it's lower if you think this was a reach. But I just think the fact that they traded down twice, picked up a ton of assets, and still got a position of need, and a guy's going to be able to start right away is at least worthy of a B.
Yep, I gave it a C plus, mostly because I don't like Darnell Wright as much, and I think it was a bit of a reach to go get him here. I mean, he's going to be a pretty good pass protector, and if that's what you want to give Fields more time and not have him spend 90% of the game running around in the backfield trying to make something happen, I can understand that. I just don't like him as much, but it's a needed position, and he's going to fill that role fine for them. And they got a bag to move down to 9, and then they added a fourth rounder to go down to 10. So I'm very happy with the way that they did things. They got an additional first, 2 additional seconds, and DJ Moore for Justin Fields. So I mean, like DJ Moore would be what would you consider like a second round value? Maybe more. He has the
Probably.
potential
Yeah,
to be.
it depends.
So yeah, I'm very happy with how they did in this draft. I might not necessarily like the player as much, but the thought process of getting to that player, I'm fine with. So C plus.
11, Skoronski. Really thought this was going to be Levis, which they ended up getting him at 34 or
Yeah.
whatever, so hats off to them for that. But Skoronski, I think he's going to be a guard, so a little high to be taking a guard, but position of need, they need to replenish that offensive line. I gave it a B. He's going to be a good player. It's just, a little high for a guard.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research on the arm length thing. Slater has 33-inch arms. Joe Staley had 33 and a half. Jason Peters, who was a Pro Bowler tackle, had 33 and 1/8 inch arms. So there are guys who have short arms, but none really as short as him because he's 32 and a quarter.
Told you.
So
I'm just saying, every analyst I've listened to, they've all said he's going to be a guard, and he's not. There's just tape of him getting long-armed and pushed backwards because his arms aren't long enough.
Yeah, I think he can still make tackle work, but I understand if they bring him into a guard. I still like him. He'll be a better guard than tackle. So, if what you want is
what did you
guard,
give the pick?
B minus. Good player. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the pick. Yours is going to be higher than mine. I'm waiting for it.
Yeah,
I know what you're going to give this next pick. We're going to have to talk about the Lions quite a bit.
All right, yeah. At number 12, Detroit goes and picks Gibbs, the running back.
You want me to go?
Oh boy, yeah, go for it.
I tried for so long to see both sides of this. I mean, my initial response is this is the worst pick I've ever seen in my life. And then at 18 with Campbell, I was like, this is an all-time horrible draft. This is like gotta be a joke. This has gotta be one of the worst things I've ever seen. And then with Hooker in round 3, I mean, really, what's his name? Brian Branch in the 40s in the second round really saved this draft. That was such exceptional value. You kind of can gloss over.
I have one thing to say about that. They went best player available, got a really good player for good value, but he does not fit their scheme at all, and they do not need him. They're gonna have some trouble playing him around. They've got guys, and he doesn't really fit what they want to do. But I can understand. I can understand the best value there. So I like the fact they went out and got the best player available, but it's just like even that, which was by far the best pick of their draft.
So they had, dude. I mean, if you just step back and take a look. They had a ton of picks in this draft in the early rounds. They had I don't know the exact numbers, but they had 2 or 3 seconds and 2/3. It was crazy. They had a chance to really be Super Bowl contenders this year with an elite draft, get so many players, you could fill positions in need. I mean, there were so many good value picks in this draft. And when you take a step back, I mean, they did get 5 good players, but oh my goodness, when you take into account value and just where these players are taken, it was just a complete nightmare. Back to 12, back to Jahmyr Gibbs. I tried for so long to convince myself because you see some national media be like, this is an A for the Lions. They got good players, but man, dude, I'll just say it. I ended up giving this a D-. Jahmyr Gibbs will be a good player. And he probably will do very good things for the Lions. But you had just signed David Montgomery to a big contract. You had DeAndre Swift, which they apparently hated, but you had DeAndre Swift. You had running back set, and we're going to have a top 5 rushing attack. This is what your argument about the Falcons, but 10 times worse. I mean, the Lions had other holes that they needed to attack here. This could have been Christian Gonzalez. This could have been... oh shoot, I don't even know. Zay Flowers would have been better. Deontay Banks,
JSN,
Nolan Smith, I think would have been great here. Maybe JSN, but man, dude,
I prefer him than Gibbs.
Running back at 12 is usually terrible no matter what. But then you factor in he was the second running back taken. You're already set at running back, and you had a bunch of other needs. This is just a nightmare. The only thing that saves this from being an F is just he's probably going to be pretty good. But value perspective, this was just horrible.
Yeah, I gave it an F-. I think it was terrible. He'll be pretty good, but if you were gonna take a running back, right? Why would you not just stay at 6 and take Robinson?
Oh yeah, dude.
It's not even.
It's like they had no awareness
not even
of anything.
Close.
You 100% would have gotten Gibbs at 18. You maybe would have gotten Gibbs with your first, second rounder. Maybe not. But they must really love Gibbs. But it doesn't make sense because, I mean, like Marcus was saying, even if Gibbs is great, he's only going to get 10 carries a game. You have to give the ball to Montgomery. He's in a committee in the backfield. Mm-hmm. So you used the 12th overall pick on a committee running back. Oh my goodness, dude. It's just a nightmare.
And then of course they have to go and trade Swift to the Eagles and just make them better too. But no, it just Swift. What would you say Swift is right now? A top 20 running back?
I don't know. I don't think they really like him. He's kind of injury prone, and I know there's things they don't like about him, but
sure. But I'd put him around. Let's say
he's in
20
now.
Yeah, I'd put him around 20. So you take this. We'll call it 25th best running back in the league. Trade him for a 4th, right? How does that mean that you take Gibbs at 12 overall? How much better does Gibbs have to be for him to be worth a 12th overall selection?
It's really mind-boggling. I could have given this an F, D-.
He's got to be within the next 2 years at a top 5 or 6 running back for this.
Yep.
For me to even consider 12 to be acceptable. It would still be a reach Because like I could understand Robinson going super high because he is crazy good. Gibbs isn't even close to him. He's not close. There, you could
I'd
easily have
say it's
gotten him when
I'd
you
say
got
it's fairly
Campbell.
close. I'd say it's
No.
fairly close to Robinson. I know Gibbs is a pretty solid running back prospect. Like he's not worth the
Yeah, he's
12th
got a
overall
lot of like
pick.
Alvin Kamara in him. Like
Dude,
he'll
Carson, there
he'll be
were
good.
some people that had Gibbs above Robinson. There were some. Like it was not like a consensus thing that
No.
I'm not
All right,
telling you that's what I
maybe.
thought, but I'm saying Gibbs is like he's a good running back prospect. He is. I'm just telling you, he is.
Okay, all right. I mean, sure, but I don't think he was anywhere close to Robinson in
Okay, he
terms of
was. He was.
prospects. I
You're
don't
dumb.
think he was
You're dumb. You're
close.
stupid. You're an
I,
idiot.
I think I think Gibbs was a second rounder at best. I don't.
There,
I don't
there were
think
reports that he was going to sneak back, that he was going to go in the late first.
I don't know.
A lot different
All
than
right.
12. All
I
right, move on.
mean, okay. Sheesh. Yeah, terrible pick. And anything else I want to say? You get traded back a couple times to
Your mic
get him.
sounds just
So
atrocious right now.
all right. Hold on.
Say something.
DeJuan Jones.
A little bit.
All right. I'll try to talk softer. But yeah, I mean, you traded back to get him twice, so I guess there's some value in that. But it just does not excuse the pick. I could maybe see it being an F instead of an F minus or an F plus just because the pick value.
There's no such thing as an F plus or an F minus.
Okay, cool. But
All right, move on. We've got our point across.
It's I don't know.
13. The Packers took Lucas Van Ness. Marcus, big Packers fan. Marcus Whitman. He loved it for some reason. He thought it was I was just laughing hysterically because I was like, oh my gosh, the Packers have done it again. Just another horrible pick. I just thought for sure I would have just so much rather preferred Jackson Smith and Jigba, or even
Say Flowers.
even Branch or like
ends.
Nolan Smith. I really like Nolan Smith. We'll get to him, but yeah, even a tight end I would have hated, which they got one later, which all worked out. But I give it a B minus. I've come up on it a little bit. From what I've heard about Van Ness, he's just not a great prospect. He doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves in his bag, and I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, he's really good on stunts, so that's kind of why I wanted.
But I will say this real quick. You did say he's a Patriots type of guy, and they wanted that trade up from 13 to 15 in the Rodgers trade, and that would have jumped the Patriots, and they took this guy at 13. So I think they knew this all along, that they're trying to get him from the Patriots. So I tip my cap to you for that.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if this is who they wanted, they went out and got him. I gave it a C. I think it's an average pick. I guess it's fine. I would, like Cole was saying, I would have preferred a tight end even. I think get Love some weapons, but they went and got a tight end later in the draft, so it's what it is. I'm okay with it. Yeah.
There's got to be one pick in this round where you graded it higher than me. There's got to be. I really hope we get there. But all right, 14. We both gave Broderick Jones an A minus. We touched on that already. Yep. 15. I really didn't like this. When it happened, the Jets took Will McDonald at 15. But I've done some more research, heard some more things. Apparently, he was played at the wrong position at Iowa State. They were playing him more inside, and he's like kind of a lighter edge rusher. So I think he's gonna, if he gets in the right scheme, which I already heard that the Jets they told him like on the phone when they drafted him, like, hey, we're moving you out to the outside, like we're gonna get this fixed for you. Like they knew he was being misused. Okay. So I give it a B minus. I just much rather would have preferred like Nolan Smith, who I think has a higher floor and a higher ceiling. And they're similar size too, so I really like Nolan Smith. I just knew that McDonald was being mocked as like late first, early second, so it seemed like a reach. But it sounds like the Jets needed defense. If they didn't get a tackle, which they didn't get a tackle because they were all taken, but I'm fine with it. B minus.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that. I thought it was just a reach, so I gave it a D plus. I thought it was just a bad reach when you got other guys at that position that they could have taken if they wanted that. I thought they just panicked after the Steelers took their guy right out from underneath them. But yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll end up being good for them because I didn't know anything about that.
All right, 16. Washington took Emmanuel Forbes here, the cornerback 2 in this class, with Christian Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr., and Deontay Banks all on the board. So listen, referencing Marcus again, he said that Emmanuel Forbes is such a unicorn because he has elite tape, but he's so small and he's literally a stick. He's probably one of the lightest cornerback prospects ever. He's like 165 pounds. If he's going to play in the NFL, he had to be drafted to a specific scheme fit, which was a Vic Fangio zone defense. And Washington was one of those teams. So they got a guy they probably really liked. He's going to be a scheme fit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, dude, there's no way that Banks or Gonzalez couldn't do what Forbes could do, and they're a lot bigger. I mean, I understand what there is to like about Forbes. He's a great player. He's got great tape, and he takes the ball away. But dude, he's just gonna get snapped in half. There's no way he can hold up if he has to tackle like Derrick Henry or a big receiver. I mean, there's no way. He's lighter than me. Imagine me out there trying to tackle Derrick Henry. I mean, this guy, his legs look like they're like, what's a good? I don't even know. Pencils. They're so small. I give it a D. I mean, good player, scheme fit, terrible value with other better players on the board.
This is going to be the first grade where I'm higher than you. Yeah,
Okay.
I gave it a C minus. I liked his tape. Well, like you were saying with Marcus, is that he has to go to one of these schemes, and that's what Washington is. So I understand why they liked him. I understand why they wanted to take him. I understand their love for him. But geez, Gonzalez is right there. Take Gonzalez.
Yep, so I mean that takes us to Gonzalez at 17. The Patriots, they traded down, although they didn't get a ton. They picked up a 4th-round pick, and they got Christian Gonzalez. This is an A+ easy, and you also factor in that Belichick has always been great at developing corners. The Patriots always have great cornerbacks. They turn bums into stars, and now they get a dude who already was considered by most to be the top cornerback prospect. This is an easy A+ at 17. After trading back.
I gave it a very simple S. I know you don't like S's, but this is an S.
There was some stuff that came out. There obviously was a reason he fell. Apparently, his interview wasn't good. Tomlin didn't like some things he heard or something. I heard Tomlin said something. There was like a quote that came out that he told his players he doesn't have the drive he doesn't have the drive that we want to have in this team or something like that. But I don't know. I mean, we don't know that, so seems like a great pick.
It's not like we're the ones doing the interviews. We don't know all this stuff, but
yeah,
just from looking at him, he looks incredible. So,
all right, 18. We get back to the Lions. Can they redeem themselves after taking Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 12?
No, they cannot. Yeah, I gave this one an F+. So.
I was higher as well, slightly. I gave it a D+. So if you take into our curve, we're about the same here. Take into account our curve that we've had on all these picks.
He's.
I mean, look, he fits the Lions' culture and what they want to do. Hard hitter, run defender, all this stuff. But, dude, he is a linebacker with significant flaws. I mean, this is a guy that most people at the Steelers could probably get at pick 49 and then late in the 2nd round. In a very weak linebacker class, and just another horrible reach. You take him at 18. I was really going back and forth on which pick I hated more between Gibbs and Campbell. I like this one slightly more, but
same.
Man, again, he could turn out to be a good player, but man, just in terms of value, you could have gotten Campbell at your 1st, 2nd round pick.
Right. He'll probably rack up tackles in Detroit, but he's not going to be doing much in the pass game, and the value is not there. They're treating this draft like they're a top 3 team.
I mean,
right
a top 20 pick is nothing to
luxury pick.
Bat an eye at, and you just used 2 top 20 picks on guys who were consensus 2nd rounders at the minimum.
Yeah. These are the 2 positions that are like the most. I don't want to say worthless, but
no, you have a good point. Running back
league.
And linebacker are two picks in the league where it's very hard to hit on them in the first round. Most
Mhm.
Super Bowl winners have running backs that were undrafted or on super cheap, like, late round picks, super cheap contracts. And same with linebackers. Most of the good linebackers in the league are mid to late round linebackers that ended up panning out because it's so hard to hit on those first round
Yeah,
linebackers.
think
So,
of Devin Bush and Devin White.
yeah, all around, man, just a
It's,
nightmare. It averages out to a D for me, but for me that's pretty bad. For Carson, it's an F, but
yeah,
uh,
it's a shame too because I really liked Detroit before this draft.
and now you hate them.
Well, I don't think they're gonna be as good as I was hoping after that. They had a really good chance with this draft to
They'll still
get
be
a
good.
lot of
They
good
just
guys out of it.
not
They'll
as
still
good
be
as they
good. They
could have
won't
been.
be. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on. Number 19, Elijah Cansey from Pittsburgh to the Buccaneers.
Um, I gave this a C. Not necessarily. And part of it was because of what I explained in the last episode, how I think he's just a situational pass rusher. This is probably, and I said someone in the range of 15 to 20 would probably fall in love with him and take him, and they did. Um, he really is the same size as Aaron Donald. So, you never know. I yell at you for don't compare him to
They
Aaron
were just
Donald,
running Aaron Donald
which
tape after the
don't
selection.
don't compare him to Aaron Donald, but somewhere in this range is probably right for him. I just really I'm giving it a C, and I probably could go down to like a C minus because this roster is actually pretty good. You still have a lot of solid veterans on this roster. You've got Tristan Wirfs, you've got Mike Evans, you've got Chris Godwin, um, you've got Vita Vea, you've got Levante David, Jamel Dean, you have Anton Winfield. You've got a lot of solid players on this team. It's not the roster that won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but outside of quarterback, this is a roster where if they plugged in a good quarterback, they could win this division. And you are telling me you're going to go into the year with Baker Mayfield as your starter? I mean, you never would have expected Will Levis to fall this far, and that is why I'm giving this a C, is because I really think they should have taken Will Levis. When are you going to get the chance to take someone who's rated that highly as a quarterback? Um, I mean,
This
I
far
just
in the
think it would be the
draft.
perfect time. Have Mayfield play for the half the year and then plug in Levis. I mean, and there's a decent chance he works out. He's got good weapons on offense and a solid defense. I just don't know really what they're building for here. Um,
Yeah, I
without
gave it
taking
a
a
C as
quarterback,
well.
I just
I
I think Levis would have made a ton of sense here. That's really all I got. But
I didn't even think about Levis here, but yeah, that could make some sense. But I gave it a C as well. I'm not nearly as high on the Buccaneers roster as you are. I think they've got plenty of holes, but
they've got plenty of holes, but they're not like a rebuilding team. Like they've got plenty of good players in the team
yeah,
as
I don't
well.
think they're rebuilding, but they're definitely on the wrong side of 30, the most of them. So, all right, let me get into the pick a little bit. Um, I understand why they took Cansey here. They have Vita Vea, so the run game isn't. They don't have. They're not going to really struggle too much to hide him in the run game if they play him a lot. Because I know one of the big knocks um, on him was that you were so concerned about was like they're just going to run it right at him every play, and he's not going to be able to do anything about it. And I can understand that, but I think they have Vita Vea can kind of help him out with that. So I'm not too low on it. I still think it's a little early. I liked him more the later of the first round, but I don't think it was that bad. So I gave it a C.
Yep, 20. Seattle took Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe Seattle fans would disagree with me, but I didn't think that wide receiver was quite as big of a need as what you were saying and what they might say. Still, this is a great player, and this is good value at this point in the draft. Lockett's getting older, so Lockett, and Metcalf is going to be a great trio. So I mean, I guess you really are going all in with Geno for these next couple of years, which I understand. Um, but I gave it a B plus. The only thing keeping it from an A was really the same thing as the last pick. I think Seattle was considering a quarterback this whole time, and I definitely understand not taking Levis and rushing that at 5. But when he falls all the way to you at 20, and you still get one of the top defensive player that you were looking at, and you can get a quarterback to sit behind Geno for a year, that's what I would have done. But that's the only thing that's keeping it from it being an A for me.
Yeah, I gave it A minus actually. I'm surprised I was higher on this than you are. Yeah, it's definitely good value. It actually does fit a need. I think that their wide receiver was a need. The Lockett's getting old. He's only going to have like one, maybe two good years left in him, and then who else do you really have behind that? So I think that you could get a great three-headed monster in the wide receiver market for this year, and then after after Lockett finally starts to regress, you can replace him with JSN. So I'm not worried about that at all. And as far as Levis goes here, um, yeah, I guess that could be an option. I still think they're fine with Geno Smith. I mean, it kind of be the love
That
Aaron
could get a
Rodgers
whole different thing, but
situation.
I honestly think we probably will see some regression this year with Geno Smith. I think,
Regression to the mean kind of
yeah,
thing.
which you would think would have happened at the second half of last year, but I just think that, man, a quarterback who the NFL thought they had a book on for so long. We've never seen a story like this where a player breaks out after like 10 years in the league.
Yeah,
And on
it's
like their
rare.
third or fourth chance, and they become like a top 10 quarterback. It's unbelievable. I just think we're probably going to see a bit of a regression, and we kind of started to see it there those last few games of last season. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be comfortable putting all my
Do
marbles in with him.
Seattle have another first round pick from Denver next year?
Hmm, that's a good question. They probably. Nah, I'm not sure because the rush trade
I'm
happened
not sure
before the
either.
draft. We'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
They might.
Yeah, if they do, then obviously you might be able to consider trading up for Caleb Williams or getting another quarterback depending on how
I
bad the
don't think you're
Broncos
trading
are.
up for
Maybe
Caleb
that's why
Williams. I don't think
probably.
anybody's trading up for
Well, it
Caleb Williams
depends.
unless
If
you're
if
like,
Arizona gets
oh
the very
yeah,
first pick, they might want
that's
to stay with
true.
Kyler and looking for trades. So
Yeah,
it depends.
all
Same with the Texans. They might like C.J. Stroud and not want to. So you never know. But it depends. If they got a first, I think Will Levis is out of the question a little bit more than previously. I didn't really think about him here. It's good thought, but I don't know. So yeah, what did I give this? A minus. I liked it. Good value. Started the run on wide receivers though. At 21, Quentin Johnston goes to the Chargers.
yep. I gave it a B. I mocked Flowers to the Chargers at 21, and then Johnson to the Ravens at 22 last time, I think, or maybe that was Addison. But either way, I just had them a little bit different order, so I gave it a B. Both guys aren't really complete wide receivers, but I understand taking Johnson here. Another traits fast guy. Um, I can understand. I just figured they would like Flowers better.
Yeah, and they got two jump ball guys on their roster there. Keenan Allen and uh, what's the other guy's name? The deep threat. Williams?
Yeah, Mike Williams.
Mike Williams, yeah. So hopefully they can teach him how to use his body a little more than he has been. I thought Zay Flowers was the big Chargers guy, but I guess they liked Quentin Johnson more, so took him there. I gave this pick a C plus because I liked. What did I say on this? Good place for him to go. They'll have good wide receivers there for Herbert for a little while, and hopefully he can learn how to get a jump ball.
22. The Ravens took Zay Flowers. I gave this a B plus. Just I had him ranked slightly higher than Johnston, but I understand it. Receiver was a need. They really attacked it. My only kind of criticism is it's another like small burner guy, and isn't that kind of what Bateman is? Kind of like a deep threat, and that's what Hollywood Brown was. I just think maybe they would have benefited from having some different types of receivers. But they got Odell and they got Flowers. They may have paid for those guys, but they definitely did what they needed to do, and the offense should look a lot different this year. So
Yep.
solid pick. I give it a B plus.
Yep. Gave it a B minus. That need at wide receiver is finally fully filled this offseason for the Ravens, and it should be a good player from Lamar, and hopefully Lamar can show his arm off a little bit more this year.
24, the Giants took my guy, Deontay Banks. This is
You
where
skipped 23.
I'm stupid. 23, the Vikings took Jordan Addison.
Numbers
Maybe
are
a
hard.
bit of a reach for him, but there was a run on receiver, so this made sense. They needed a guy. Thielen, he's in Carolina now, right? He's gone. So really, they really did need a receiver. I just didn't think about that until now. This is a solid pick. I might even bump it up to an A minus, but I have it a B plus. He'll do fine with Jefferson there, and I'm sure he'll put up big numbers. And I mean,
Yeah,
being a number two in a
yeah,
good offense is exactly what Addison needs. I don't think he's cut out to be a number one, but this is
yeah.
a good pick.
Yeah, I gave it a B minus. Slight reach on Addison. I think. I mean, I don't know if they would have been able to get him. I don't know what their next pick was. Probably not. So I understand just getting that need right now. Um, a really good player. I love Addison. Loved him with Kenny Pickett and Pitt, and he actually fits the culture of the Vikings really well. So, yeah, I'm excited for him. Good place for him to go.
24, the Giants took Deontay Banks, my guy. I think this is a good value for him. This is probably right around where people expected him to go, maybe a little bit lower even. Um, I'm not entirely sure exactly what the Giants' needs are, but I mean, I gave it an A just because I feel like it's good value, and they ended up we mocked John Michael Schmitz to them, they ended up getting it round two, so a really solid
Yeah.
draft from the Giants. But just a good player that should be able to plug in right away and be able to play.
hmm Yep, I gave it a B plus. They had to trade up for it, threw in a fifth and a seventh to go up one spot. So a little bit expensive to go up only one spot this late in the first round. But you did go up to get a corner who I believe fell in the draft. And yeah, I like Banks. I think he'll do well in the
Who
Giants
was
organization.
25? Was it just did the Bills and Giants just switch?
No, the Giants traded up one pick with Jacksonville, sent them a fifth and seventh, and then Jacksonville
Oh,
traded the 26th to the Bills, and they picked up an additional fourth rounder.
okay. Yeah, you're just a hater with these low draft grades. Simply all it is. Um, 25, I gave this an A minus. Dalton Kincaid to the Bills. They didn't have a ton of holes, but they did need another weapon, I think, on offense, and they got their tight end of their choice. Probably would have liked Mayer a little bit more here, but this is probably right when you would have expected the tight ends to start going. So makes sense to me. Um, A
Yep,
minus.
I gave it a B. Would have been a B plus, but they had to trade up and send a fourth, which was about as much as they had to trade up. The Steelers really got a steal, only giving a fourth to go up earlier. Yeah, they got, in my opinion, the best tight end available, and giving another weapon to hopefully push them over the edge on offense. Which, yeah, hopefully they can reach a Super Bowl this year, and I think this gives Josh Allen a weapon that might be able to push him to that.
26. The Cowboys took Mozzie Smith or Maisie Smith. I'm not sure which one.
I think it's Moss.
Um, this is a dude. I mean, I don't know. Some people might like him more. I hadn't heard a ton about him. I know some of the Steelers got radio guys didn't love him. I don't think he made a ton of big plays or many big plays at Michigan. If you're gonna go defensive tackle, I would have preferred Brzee here. So I mean, I gave it a C plus.
Yeah. What did I give? I gave it a B. I actually like Mozzie Smith. I think he's a good player, but Brazil was there, and I like Brazil a lot more. But they also traded down to get this, so yeah, I'm happy with it. Or no, they didn't trade down. Wait, where am I at?
I think
No,
they
they didn't
did.
trade down. Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, slight. Okay, yeah. But he fits their system well, which is what I like. That's what I was misread there.
All right, 27. Anton Harrison to Jacksonville. I gave this an A minus. I don't know. Um, Ready tackle that can step in right now and play for you. Good pass protector for Lawrence, and they'll probably be throwing a lot more this year with all the weapons they have. Um, Makes sense. Cam Robinson just got suspended, so solid pick, A minus.
Yep, I gave it a B plus. I even said in my notes here maybe an A minus. because they traded down to get a very, very good pass blocker to help out T-Law. So that's a good pick for Jacksonville.
28, Cincinnati, they took Miles Murphy. I gave this pick an A, good value. They needed some pass rush help. I think he'll do well there.
Yep, I gave it a B minus. Tradesy player.
That's kind of a
He
big
was,
difference.
yeah. I think he's a good player, and that the need was filled.
You're just like, yeah, I don't know. I think if I was just a not good pick, I gave it a B. If you just thought it was a good pick, you gave it like a C. You almost had the whole letter grade difference.
Yeah, about a whole to half letter grade difference.
Yeah. All right. 29. Saints took Brzee. They needed defensive line help. Cam Jordan's getting old. Their whole defense is getting old. This is good value. I gave it an A.
Yep, I gave it an A minus. I absolutely love Brzee, and I think it's a great fit and it fills a huge need for the Saints. So I couldn't be happier if I was
Then how is it an A minus,
Saints
you
fan.
bum?
I don't know.
I think you're a homer. All your Steelers picks were A plus and S, and there's
That's
been
not true.
all of
I
these
gave
are
two A
like
minuses.
B's and A minuses for like great picks.
Fine, I'll give it an
You're
A.
a
Does that
failure.
make you happy?
You're a failure. No, it doesn't make me happy. All right, 30. What do you give this one? Nolan Smith to the Eagles.
A minus.
Oh my gosh, I give it an A plus. I thought this was an excellent pick. I think Nolan Smith is like a top 15, borderline top 10 player, just based on film and his ability to stop the run. As we go back to the last episode, his only question is size, and he gets to go to Philadelphia, where they have another guy who's just like that, and Hassan Reddick, who's done very well there. So he gets to learn from the one dude in the NFL who's like the same size and has done well as an edge rusher. He gets to go out with all his other Georgia teammates that are going to make him look better. He's just an athletic freak that's going to be a monster against the run and has a super high floor or ceiling. And they got him at pick 30. I wouldn't have criticized teams for taking him at pick 12, so this was an easy A plus for me.
Yeah, maybe this one should be an A. But yeah, great player for the Eagles. I hate how good the Eagles are getting after this draft. I thought, they lost like half their defensive starters, if not more, in free agency. I don't know what they're going to do about that, and they just went out and absolutely killed the draft. Yeah, he's a great guy too, like a real leader, and he might be able to help Carter with his off-field issues too, just because of how great of a guy he is. Maybe it'll rub off on him a little bit, but yeah, great pick. I can't fault that. It was a great pick.
With each pick, I'm questioning your rating system. 31, the Chiefs took Felix and Duque Uzama. I don't really know anything about him. I just feel like the Chiefs are always taking a defensive line or edge rusher like every year in one of their top couple picks, and they just keep filling these dudes in, and they don't end up being that great. And I didn't see this guy in any first round mocks, so he gets a C.
Yeah, I got a C minus. He's an okay player, a bit of a reach. And thanks for not taking JPJ.
Yep. And then on Porter, A plus, and apparently
Of
is an
S
S
plus,
for you,
thank you.
even though you didn't have any. I don't know. You were just
I had an S. Where'd I? Yeah, Gonzalez to the Patriots was an S.
yeah. I guess I just don't know how Nolan Smith is an A minus and Brzee like a B plus or whatever he was. And even though you
He
said
was also an A minus.
they're excellent picks, and you couldn't be happier
Why,
if your
they
Eagles or
could've-
Saints fans, but they get an A minus. If it was the
Fine,
Steelers,
I'll
you'd be
bump
giving
those
out
up to A's.
S's. If it was the Steelers, you'd be giving out S's.
Listen,
I might need
man,
to find
you
a
told
new
me to
co-host.
hurry.
This
You
is
told me.
I need to find a new
You told me
co-host,
to
someone that's
hurry at
not
the end of this. I was
biased.
in a hurry. I didn't have enough time to think about all my options. All right, I
I don't like
panicked.
your grading. We're gonna curve your grades down or up,
Down. They're already
up,
down.
like up half a letter grade for all these picks.
I wanted to try to keep the average pick closer to like a C or
Yeah,
a
that
C
makes sense, I
plus,
guess.
because that's average. At least it's supposed to be. Cole,
Yeah.
your average is probably an A minus.
I should see what these are averaged out. But yeah, mine'll probably be a half to a whole letter grade above yours.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's our draft recap. We didn't have time to go back and look at what we hit on last year. The only important thing is I said Sauce Gardner is going to be great, and Carson didn't like him. That's all you need to know.
I liked him. I just thought Stingley would be better, which, he's on the Texans,
Um,
okay? Give him another couple of years.
and I said Kenny Pickett was going to be a superstar, and Carson hated the
That's not what you
pick.
said. We
Yeah.
have the receipts, Cole.
But this is a
also,
mega episode today. This was, I don't
Yes.
even know, it's probably going to be over an hour and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get a couple more out over the next month or so. A lot we can talk about. Go over some power rankings.
Yeah.
What
Steelers
are some
depth
other
chart.
ideas? Steelers outlook.
Can look back on
You
draft
can look
grades
on like
last
win
time.
totals for each team and
Yeah.
if we think it's
And
going to be
you know
over
what we
under.
should do? We shouldn't go and look at who had the better predictive draft. We shouldn't do that. Because I got the first 2 picks right and nothing else.
I thought you picked Cansey to the Bucks at 19. Did you not?
I had him fall out of the first.
Oh, okay. I beat you. Let's go. I thought you beat me.
3-2. Congrats! Out of 32 possible points, or 31, I guess.
I also got a couple more things right. I had the
Dude,
Texans trading back up, and I had the Bears trading down. I got both of those things right.
Yeah, I was so close on a few, especially the wide receivers. I had 2 wide receivers going
Yeah.
in that exact area. They were just the wrong ones.
Yeah.
So I was like 1 pick off of Zay Flowers.
All right. Well,
Oh, well.
we'll be back soon if Carson's not feeling lazy.
Yeah, we'll see about that. Thanks for watching.